Welcome into a Cleveland Browns Report mailbag edition. Our first question coming in from everyone's favorite character, the Scranton Strangler, Toby Flenderson. But whoever this is asks, could Jim Schwartz end up getting a head coaching job next year? This is a fear of mine that I have growing because I am a little bit nervous that this defense is playing so well that another team might hire Jim Schwartz to be their head coach next year. Now, if I have some bit of good news, if I had to take a stab at what the head coaching vacancies could be come Black Monday in January, I could see the New York Jets, if things don't work out this year, maybe they move on from Robert Saleh. The Chicago Bears look like they might not make it through this season with Matt Eberflus. The Los Angeles Chargers with Brandon Staley, that relationship, that honeymoon is wearing off real fast. The Washington Commanders, maybe they want to move on from Riverboat Ron. Or maybe the New Orleans Saints, if they have back-to-back losing seasons, and they're like, all right, Dennis Allen, we kind of gave that a shot, but you're not the guy for the job. The only thing that I can say is the Jets, the Bears, Chargers, and the Saints, and kind of the Commanders, all four of those teams and all four of their current head coaches are defensive-minded head coaches. One would think that if the Bears fired Matt Eberflus, or the Jets made a firing, or the Chargers made a firing, their next coach would not be a defensive guy, right? I think the GM or ownership would step in and go, we tried defense, it didn't work. Let's go over to offense. Now, there is a fallacy in the NFL that if you hire a defensive coach, they don't know how offense works. You don't get to be an NFL head coach without having a good idea of how both sides of the football work. But that's what fans like to believe, so we'll roll with it. So that's the only thing I'm holding on to is Jim Schwartz could look like a good head coaching candidate, but he's a defensive guy. And if all those positions that open up are from previous defensive-minded coaches, they might want to go the other way this next hiring cycle. Now, if you have loved what you have seen from Jim Schwartz so far, then make sure to like today's video. If Jim Schwartz happens to stumble across this video or someone sends it to him, I want him to see, oh, man, the Browns fans, they are showing up and showing out right now because that video is over 1,000 likes. Yeah, this defense is balling out. You guys are welcome. Next question coming in via Super Chat from Joshua Miller. Shout out to Josh Dobbs' big win. Could you say the Browns' third-string quarterback beat the Cowboys? Does that count as the Browns' win? 2.5 win? Are the Browns 2.5-1? I think so. I'm going to take that as a Browns win. Cleveland is 3-1. Thank you, Dobbs. Next one coming in from Nicholas. I told you about Tank Dell. I remember back in the draft, Nicholas, you were talking a lot about Tank Dell, and he's looked really good so far for the Houston Texans. Honestly, clap it up for former Buckeye C.J. Stroud. He has been lighting it up, I think, just going off the numbers and whatnot. I have not sat down and watched many Texans games, but Tank Dell and C.J. Stroud, they are forming a really good duo so far down in H-Town. We got Keith, next one up on the show. Good to see you, Keith. Little early, but what defensive players should we extend? I say Delpit, Takitaki, Anthony Walker, Maurice Hurst, and Za'Darius Smith. Need to keep this defense together as much as possible as long. Okay, so let's kind of take those names one by one. Delpit, I agree. I could see the Browns giving Delpit a 4-year contract extension in October or November. Takitaki, linebackers are pretty replaceable. Just the way the game is played right now, I don't think the Browns are going to put a lot of resources into the linebacker spot because their money is so tied up elsewhere. So I don't see Takitaki or Anthony Walker getting extensions. Maybe it's just another 1-year contract. That wouldn't blow me away. Maurice Hurst, he's a good piece, a good rotational member of this defensive line, but he's not someone the Browns are going to pay a lot of money to. It's just not going to happen for your DT3/4. Za'Darius Smith, on the other hand, I could see the Browns, who reworked his contract to give him a 1-year deal and more guaranteed money up front, trying to find a contract with him after the season. I don't think they're going to try and reach a long-term deal mid-season. He's a little bit up there in the age column, whereas Grant Delpit's a little bit younger, so you try to beat the books, meaning you try to beat the rush of the crowd in free agency that wants to sign Grant Delpit. So you sign him and you lock him up midterm or midseason. Whereas Darius Smith, as an older guy, he might not have a ton of interest in free agency, so the Browns could wait for the whole season to play out and get a bigger picture of a body of work for Za'Darius Smith. Now, before we get on to the rest of the questions on today's show, today's Cleveland Browns Report is sponsored by Game Time. You shouldn't have to worry when you're buying tickets to your next big event. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. If you're trying to catch an upcoming Browns game or if you want to see a concert or another sporting event in your area, Game Time is the place to visit first. What I love about Game Time specifically is the ability to get last-minute tickets for the lowest price. There's nothing better than a spur-of-the-moment with you and all your friends deciding, you know what, let's go to the Browns game tomorrow, or let's go catch a college football game. And then you go and look at ticket prices, and they're going to break your bank account, and then you can't go anymore, and then no one's happy, and that's sad, and no one likes that. But with Game Time, you don't have to worry about that. Game Time is the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. Buy tickets in seconds with just 2 taps. They're obsessed with finding ways to help you save money on tickets. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the start of the event and even an hour after it starts. It's the place to find last-minute seats. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code BROWNSCHAT for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, but once again, create an account and redeem the code BROWNSCHAT for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. We got a super chat from Joshua Miller asking, thinking about getting a D-Hop jersey, thoughts? Well, I persuaded Josh to get a Cade York jersey last year after the Panthers game. So I'm going to abstain from all jersey recommendations for Joshua Miller after the financial, basically almost as bad as the housing crisis in 2008 that I had you go through last year getting a Cade York jersey. So I love the Martin Emerson jersey. I'm no comment on kicker jerseys from me to you from now on. Sal, next one up. At this point, predict the outcome of a Dolphins versus Browns AFC Championship game. You know, before the season started, I had the Dolphins as one of my, I think that team could go to the Super Bowl. Kind of like how the Eagles went last year, and everyone's like, midway through, they're so talented. Why are we shocked by this? The Dolphins are super talented. Until Tua got hurt last year, they were looking like they were a contending AFC team. Predict the outcome of a Browns Dolphins AFC Championship game. The Browns are in the AFC Championship game. It means the defense is still playing rock solid, and the offense is getting better and better. So I'd say the Browns beat the Dolphins with Jim Schwartz's defense locking down Tua 27-20. That'd be my score prediction right there. Browns to the Super Bowl, baby. Cool guy called zone. Browns go to the Super Bowl. I'll see you in Vegas, cool guy. Browns fan for life. Next one up. Do you think this is the most important game this Sunday against the Ravens? I thought the Steelers was the most important game ever. And then we learned how quickly that, sure, losing sucks and losing hurts, but what's the best cure? What's the best remedy? Winning. Now, it is very important that the Browns can win this game and be 3-1 going into the bye, and then they come out and they knock off the 49ers at home the next week. You're 4-1, and you got through the hardest part of your schedule with the Bengals, the Steelers, the Titans, the Ravens, and the 49ers, and you're 4-1 in that stretch. Oh, it's going to look a lot better on the other side. So this game is very important for that element, and it's also important because there has to be a changing of the guard in the AFC North. The Browns have to make their presence known and start winning these divisional games. They've been able to do that against Cincinnati, but now they're going to apply it over to Pittsburgh and Baltimore, who have more or less dominated the AFC North since 2002. Mr. G, we've only played non-mobile quarterbacks. How do you think we'll do against Lamar? That's a good point. That's a fair point to make. Lamar is, a one of a kind. He has the ability to extend plays. He's got the ability to run. So as a defense, you have to hold back a linebacker or two to spy on Lamar, meaning you can't rush everyone against Lamar because then he slips out of the pocket and there's no one in the next level, right? You have all your corners and safeties running back with receivers, but there's no one there to account for the quarterback. What makes the Browns such a nightmare of a matchup for Lamar is Cleveland can get to the quarterback with 4 or 5 guys, which means they can hold back Walker, Takitaki, and JOK, right? They can put one of those guys and Grant Delpit on Mark Andrews. And so they can have Walker and Takitaki help spy on Lamar Jackson. They don't need to be blitzing the quarterback to get after the quarterback. So I like the Browns' defensive chances against Lamar, but you're right, Mr. G. It'll be different. Not playing, people that have, hands for feet pretty much. They can't run like Lamar can. We got a $1 super chat coming in from Brad. Brad, thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate it. Robert, next one up. Could you see the Browns trading Jedrick Wills? I know Jed Wills has been disappointing through 3 weeks, but it is just 3 weeks, so even as someone that's Been very upset with Jedrick Wills' overall effort and performance so far. Andrew Berry is not punting on a starting left tackle for his team 3 weeks in. That's just not a good thing to do to your locker room, in my opinion. To go in there after the offense starts to click and go, we're taking your starting left tackle away. That's probably not going to create a good rhythm and a good mojo the rest of the season. Has he looked like someone worthy of his contract, the 5th-year option, a first-round pick? No. But the facts are, it's September. It's a little late to try and make a new move at left tackle. So I think you're stuck with Jedrick Wills, whether you like it or not. But if someone did call the Browns and said, we'll give you a 4th-round pick for Jedrick Wills, would you make that trade? I know a 4th is not very tempting, but who's going to give a 1st, 2nd, or probably even a 3rd for the way Wills has played so far? So let me know down below if someone ultimately did call and offer the Browns a 4th-rounder and said, you get a 4th and James Hudson gets to be your new starting left tackle. Would you take him up on that deal? Yes or no? Joshua Miller. Could you see Jim Schwartz replacing Kevin Stefanski if the offense starts having issues again? I don't think you're going to have a midseason firing. It doesn't seem like Jimmy Haslam wants to go down that road again of constant turnover and a carousel at the head coaching position. Yes, if the Browns disappoint this year, Kevin Stefanski is likely done. But I don't think you're going to see a midseason firing. I just don't think, unless Andrew Berry and I guess Haslam get super duper desperate and they're like, we are wasting precious games here. Let's fire Stefanski and get a real coach in charge like Jim Schwartz. If that's how they see it, I could maybe be talked into that. But I think Kevin Stefanski is going to get the full season unless things really start to fall off, which it doesn't look like that's going to happen with the way this defense is playing. Levi Mayfield, our last question. Myles Garrett gets to Lamar 3 times at least. Garrett got 3.5 sacks against Ryan Tannehill. Lamar's a little bit tougher to bring down, but with Myles Garrett, anything's possible. So I wouldn't go as high to say 3 times. How about 1.5 sacks for Myles Garrett, 1 sack for Za'Darius Smith. Give me a Dalvin Tomlinson sack. What am I at? 3.5 sacks. And then maybe the other half sack comes from Okoronkwo. He always seems to be pairing up with Myles Garrett to finish off these plays. That's going to do it for us on today's mailbag. Thanks so much for tuning in. I really appreciate you for joining us on another edition of the Cleveland Browns Report. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll catch up later.